the first thing I'm going to do is use the distributive property. So I'm going to multiply each of these two terms here by -7. And I noticed here that I'm going to be distributing a -7. So pay attention to the signs because 99% of your mistakes will be with the negatives. I can see here I'm multiplying -7 times -3, which gives me positive 21v. And now I'm taking -7 and multiplying it with the positive 3. -7 times positive 3 gives me -21. Then I bring down the minus 9v equals, and I repeat the process on the other side. I have to distribute the 6 and multiply that with the v and the 3 inside the parentheses. I'm going to multiply the 6 times 1v, which gives me 6v, and then 6 times -3. So I always pay attention to the sign in front of the number. In this case, I consider it to be a negative, because if I wrote it as addition, it would be plus -3. But that definitely is a strategy I use. I just consider the number and the sign. And in this case, it would be positive 6 times -3, which gives me -18. So I would put down -18 or -18 in this case. And I bring down my -6. Step 2, what I look for is like terms on the same side. In this case, I can see we have 21v and -9v. I got to combine those two amounts. And that's going to give me 12v. And I bring down the -21 because that's left over. Bring down my equal sign. And then we have, on the other side, like terms are -18 and -6. If I were to combine those two together, I'm going to get -24. And I'll bring down my 6v. And now, I can see I have like terms, but they're not on the same side. They're on different sides. So if you have like terms on different sides, that's when you're going to start using the properties of equality. Either addition property or subtraction property of equality. And what I like to start with is the variables, and I look at the one that has a lower value, which in this case would be 6v. I'm going to make a 0 pair with the 6v, meaning I'm going to do the opposite of what that number is and combine it so that way I get 0. In this case, the 6v is a positive because there's no sign to the left, so I know it's a positive 6v. The opposite of that is -6v. So I'm basically, in this case, I'm going to use subtraction property and do it to both sides to keep it balanced. So I subtract 6v to both sides, bring down my equal sign. 12v minus 6v is 6v. Bring down my -21 when I simplify. On the right side, though, that's a 0 pair, as I said earlier. When you combine opposites, they're going to cancel out. They add up to 0. And then I bring down what's left over. And pay attention because a common mistake is you forget the sign. It's a -24 that you're going to bring down. So -24. And you can see we're getting closer to solving for v. Next thing I'm going to do is create a 0 pair with the constant that is on the same side as the variable we're solving for. Constant is just a fancy word for the number without the variable, which in this case is -21. So to make a 0 pair with that, the opposite of -21, +21, which means I'm using addition property, and I'm going to add 21 to the other side as well to keep the equation balanced. Bring down my equal sign and simplify. The 21s, when you cancel them, they're opposites. That's going to cancel out to 0. That's a 0 pair. And then we bring down my 6v. And then -24 plus 21 is going to give me -3. And then the last step, which is another area where you might make a mistake, is that you don't always divide by the smaller number. You divide, in this case, by the number that's going to make 6v turn into 1v. In other words, what do I have to divide 6v by to make it 1v? And I can see that I would have to divide that by 6. And now we're using division property because I got to divide the other side by 6 to keep the equation balanced. Bring down my equal sign. 6v divided by 6 is 1v. And then -3 over 6, I know I can simplify that. They're each divisible by 3. That's the biggest number that could divide into both. The vocab word for that would be the greatest common factor. That's the biggest number I can use to divide into 3 and 6. And when I divide it out, I can see I get -1 over 2. And that would be my final answer.